Thank you for watching Amir Shakil 5858. I am Amir Goodnam. I am thankful to all news resources. Following news have been reported by American, European, and Canadian news channels, Asian and African channels, and all news agencies, Reuters, AFP, AP have also reported the same news. Now the headlines. Israel attacked Iranian consulate in Damascus, killing 7 senior military officials of Iranian origin. Havana syndrome from Cuba is killing some Americans. Michigan Democratic governor talk about abortion rights. Strict Florida law for abortion. Houthi of Yemen attacks southern Israel naval base and also international shipping in Red Sea. Differences in Israel and America over Rafah operation. Israel withdraw from Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza. Anti-government protest in Israel. Opposition parties won big in Turkey elections. California storm and flood. Carbon tax increase fuel cost in Canada. On Wall Street, mix. Dow Jones down, Nasdaq up, and S&P 500 down. Now the news in detail.
Now.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The Israeli military has ended its 2-week siege of Al-Shifa's hospital, leaving Gaza's largest medical complex in ruins. The World Health Organization says at least 21 patients died since the siege began. Authorities in Gaza said the Israeli military killed more than 400 Palestinians, including medical workers and children, and destroyed over 1,000 homes around the hospital. Israel accused using the hospital for military purposes. On Sunday, an Israeli airstrike hit a tent encampment outside of Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in Deir al-Balah. The attack killed 4 people and injured 17 others, including 7 journalists. The BBC reports the tent closest to the explosion belonged to the Turkish news agency Anadolu. The Palestinian photographer Hamad described the attack.
They hit the tent without any warning. We were staying in the tent as a group of journalists peacefully with no terrorist among us. We were preparing our cameras and all of a sudden the tent was hit. Everything went dark with debris and rocks flying above our heads, and there were flames.
In other news from Gaza, the Israeli newspaper Haaretz reports the Israeli military has created so-called kill zones inside Gaza, where Israeli troops kill anyone who crosses into the area. One reserve officer told the paper, quote, "As soon as people enter it, mainly adult males, orders are to shoot and kill even if that person is unarmed," unquote. The report comes days after Al Jazeera aired footage of 4 unarmed Palestinian men being killed as they walked along the ruins near Khan Yunis. In an interview with Haaretz, one Israeli officer acknowledged the 4 men were killed even though they, quote, "didn't endanger our forces," unquote. The Washington Post is reporting the Biden administration has recently authorized a transfer of billions of dollars in bombs and fighter jets to Israel. The arms package include more than 1,800 MK-84 2,000-pound bombs, which can be used to level entire city blocks. The U.S. is also sending 500 MK-82 500-pound bombs and 25 F-35 fighter jets. On Sunday, tens of thousands rallied across Israel calling for the removal of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the largest protest since the October 7th attacks. In Jerusalem, police fired skunk spray at demonstrators blocking a major highway. The protesters called for a ceasefire and the release of all hostages. This is Ahira Shahamor, whose elderly uncle has been held in Gaza for nearly 6 months.
Today we declared that Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, is the obstacle between us and getting our hostages back. And we will relentlessly fight, legally of course, to have him removed from power and get someone else that can do the job and worthy of the situation that can bring our beloved ones back. Until then, Benjamin Netanyahu is the main obstacle.
As calls mount for his resignation, Benjamin Netanyahu is now recovering after undergoing a hernia operation on Sunday night. In other news from Israel, police have arrested the sister of Hamas's political leader Ismail Haniyeh. Sabah Haniyeh, who is an Israeli citizen, was detained in the Israeli town of Tel Sheva. Palestinians marked Land Day across the occupied territories and across the globe on Saturday. The day commemorates the 1976 deaths of 6 Palestinians protesting the seizure of their property by Israel. Hundreds of Palestinians rallied in Ramallah and the occupied West Bank. This is Majid al-Masri, Minister of Social Affairs of the Palestinian National Authority.
The Palestinian people are united in their struggle for the land, which started on Land Day in the Galilee and in the Nakab, but has now spread all over the country. All our people and the free people of the world are all united in this struggle in support of our people in Gaza and the resistance in Gaza, which is for the protection of the land and the return of the rights of self-determination of the Palestinian people.
Solidarity protests were held across the globe over the weekend, including in London, where as many as 200,000 people took to the streets. Here in New York City, organizers say 30,000 people came out for a massive Land Day protest. Elsewhere, students at Smith College in Massachusetts have entered their 6th day occupying an administrative building. The students are calling on the school to divest from weapons manufacturers. The protest is being led by the Smith chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine. Pope Francis marked Easter Sunday by reiterating his plea for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
I appeal once again that access to humanitarian aid be ensured to Gaza and call once more for the prompt release of the hostages seized on last October 7th and for an immediate ceasefire in the Strip. Let us not allow the current hostilities to continue to have grave repercussions on the civil population, by now at the limit of its endurance, and above all on the children. How much suffering you see in children's eyes. Those children in that land of war have forgotten how to smile.
While the Pope called for peace, a Republican Congress member has publicly suggested Gaza should be bombed, quote, like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Michigan Congressmember Tim Walberg made the comment during a recent town hall.
We should be spending a dime on humanitarian aid. It should be like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Get over quick.
After facing widespread criticism for calling for the atomic bombing of Gaza, Congressmember Tim Walberg, who's a former pastor, issued a statement claiming he was not advocating for the use of nuclear weapons in Gaza. In Lebanon, 3 UN military observers and a Lebanese translator were injured Saturday in an explosion near the border with Israel. Security sources in Lebanon told Reuters Israel was behind the attack, but Israel denied the claim. Meanwhile, Israel has assassinated a Hezbollah commander named Ismail al-Zin in a targeted drone strike in southern Lebanon. In campaign news, Donald Trump has posted a video on social media that includes an image of President Biden hogtied in the back of a pickup truck. A spokesperson for Biden's campaign said, quote, Trump is regularly inciting political violence, and it's time people take him seriously. Just ask the Capitol police officers who were attacked protecting our democracy on January 6th, they said. Meanwhile, Trump continues to publicly attack the daughter of New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan, who is hearing Trump's hush money case. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has asked for a gag order on Trump to be expanded to include the judge and his family. In Turkey, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's ruling party has suffered historic losses in local elections as the secular opposition Republican People's Party won mayoral races in Turkey's 5 largest cities, including the capital Ankara. In Istanbul, Ekrem İmamoğlu won re-election with more than 51%, cementing his role as a possible future challenger to Erdogan.
The nation itself gives the order and the instructions, not just one person. Officials receive instructions from the nation. The period of one-man rule is over as of today. It is done. The Republican democracy go full speed ahead from now on.
Armed police raided the home of the Peruvian president Dina Boluarte as part of a corruption probe dubbed Rolexgate. The deeply unpopular interim president has been accused of illegally acquiring more than a dozen luxury watches over the past 3 years. She's denied any wrongdoing and has rejected calls to resign. President Boluarte has led Peru since December 2022 after Pedro Castillo was ousted from office. Yesterday marked the 15th annual International Transgender Day of Visibility. President Biden issued a proclamation, quote, honoring the extraordinary courage and contributions of transgender Americans and recognizing March 31st as Transgender Day of Visibility. Biden has recognized the date every year since taking office, but Republican lawmakers and Trump attacked Biden for the move since the holiday coincided this year with Easter Sunday. Amidst a Republican crackdown on their rights, trans and non-binary communities led rallies at state houses across the country Sunday to celebrate trans joy and demand equitable rights. Elsewhere, activists in Mexico City were met with riot police and tear gas as they marched to demand a law protecting the rights of transgender people. This is Jennifer Rodriguez.
We want respect for our human rights. We don't want to be discriminated against when we apply for a job. We want the medical assistance we deserve. We want to be able to get a house and all the benefits free marriage provides. We don't want to be killed only for being different. We don't want sex work to be our one unique option to survive. While the government doesn't provide all these, we want our integral trans law that gives us the right to express our identity and change our gender and make hormonal changes when we come to legal age.
In other news from Mexico, authorities are investigating the deaths of 8 Chinese nationals after their bodies were found on a beach in the southern state of Oaxaca Saturday. One survivor of the shipwreck says the boat departed from Tapachula, a border city with Guatemala, which is a common departure point for migrants hoping to reach the U.S. border. In California, many fast food workers are getting a big raise. Beginning today, all fast food chains in California must pay workers at least $20 an hour. And the pioneering actor Lou Gossett Jr. has died at the age of 87. In 1983, he became the first black performer to win an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his role in An Officer and a Gentleman. He was also the founder of the Racism Foundation, which aimed to erase racism. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
Breaking news tonight, the major ruling in Florida on abortion rights. Florida Supreme Court saying the state's 6-week abortion ban can take effect in 30 days, but also ruling that voters should have the ultimate say by putting the abortion issue on the ballot in November. The growing national battle. Also tonight, the SUV ramming a security gate at the FBI's Atlanta field office. The driver in custody. What we're learning. The spring storms and tornado threat across the country, and is April's snow headed for New England? Al Roker is here. The significant progress in the race to reopen the port of Baltimore after that massive bridge collapse. The temporary fix to get ships in and out. The major escalation in the Middle East. Iran accusing Israel of striking its consulate in Syria and killing 2 top generals. Convicted double murderer Alec Murdaugh back in court, sentenced to 40 more years for stealing from his clients. Why some of his victims say they forgive him. A lawyer for NFL star Rashee Rice says he's cooperating with police after reports his car was involved in a major crash. Authorities asking for help IDing the man in this video. And he's young and driven, the gamer turned NASCAR star who just claimed his first major checkered flag.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome. Breaking tonight, a pair of closely watched abortion rulings late today by Florida's Supreme Court. The conservative majority panel opening the door for a ban on abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy, a point at which some women don't know they are pregnant. But in a separate ruling, the court will leave it to Florida voters to decide whether to restore abortion rights when they go to the polls in November. Senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett starts us off tonight.
Tonight, Florida's highest court paving the way for a strict abortion ban to go into effect, while also sending the issue back to the voters this November. The conservative court finding the state's constitution does not protect abortion rights, which will now allow Florida to ban the procedure as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy, before many women know that they're pregnant. That law signed last year by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, now set to go into effect in the next 30 days.
We are here today to defend those who can't defend themselves.
It's all likely to usher in a sea change not only in Florida, but throughout the South, as the state has seen a surge in patients from surrounding states that have passed stricter bans since Roe v. Wade was overturned. But at the same time, the court today also approving key language for a constitutional amendment protecting abortion rights after advocates gathered enough signatures for voters to decide the issue this November.
I feel like women should not be told what to do. I don't think they should have abortion at all.
If passed, it would guarantee the right to abortion before viability, which is usually around 24 weeks, or when necessary to protect the patient's health.
And Laura, it's not just Florida that could have abortion on the ballot in November.
That's right, Lester. Several different states are considering ballot measures like these. Some they've already succeeded. Advocates have succeeded getting them on the ballot. But in the meantime, in the short term, Lester, this abortion ban, this 6-week abortion ban, is going to start in the next 30 days in Florida.
All right, Laura, thanks very much. Just developing tonight, a driver near Atlanta ramming his car into the front gate of the FBI office there. Elaine Alexander reports he is in custody tonight.
Tonight, a major security scare at the FBI field office in Atlanta when agents say a man driving this vehicle used it to try and force his way inside.
We can confirm a person rammed into the FBI Atlanta's front gate shortly after noon today. He was not associated with this facility.
The FBI says the driver tried to get past the security checkpoint by following an employee's vehicle inside, but the security barrier engaged and the suspect crashed his car into it. Officials say he then jumped out of the car and tried to run toward the building, but only made it a few feet before being tackled.
Several of our special agents who were passing by apprehended him. His motives at this point are not known. The suspect was taken to a local area hospital where he's being evaluated.
The suspect was never close to actually getting inside of the building, officials say, and note it's too early to tell whether this was a potential act of terror. Tonight, FBI officials are not releasing the name of the suspect and say no weapons were found inside the car.
And tonight, officials are considering both state and federal charges. Lester?
Blaine Alexander, thank you. Tens of millions are in the crosshairs of severe weather tonight and tomorrow in the Midwest and South from the same storm that caused major flooding and surprisingly heavy snow in California over the weekend. Al Roker is tracking in for us. Al, a dangerous situation brewing.
In fact, Lester, it is developing right now, a volatile situation. We have 8 million people under tornado watches from St. Louis, Kansas City down to Oklahoma City and just north of Dallas until late tonight. And then we've also got, as you can see, this line of showers and thunderstorms moving into the Midwest. Flood watches for 16 million people. Tonight, we are really concerned about this area right in central Oklahoma where we've got damaging hail, wind gusts, nocturnal tornadoes. These are twice as deadly as daytime tornadoes. Fort Smith, Joplin, St. Louis, Poplar Bluff. And then we move into tomorrow. The threat ramps up to 55 million people in the upper Ohio River Valley from Columbus, Nashville, Chattanooga, Birmingham. We're looking at rainfall amounts anywhere from 2 to 3 inches. And on the backside of the system, Lester, we've got a major snowstorm, blizzard conditions possible in parts of northern New England for up to 18 inches of snow.
All right, Al Roker, thank you. 6 days since Baltimore's Key Bridge collapsed after being struck by a cargo ship, there is progress in the urgent effort to reopen the port. Officials saying crews have already opened a narrow channel to allow recovery vessels to access the disaster site. Aaron Gilchrist is there.
Tonight, authorities battling more bad weather and the urgent mission to get a portion of the Baltimore port back open. Today, announcing a temporary channel now complete.
It will help us to get more vessels in the water around the site of the collapse.
We were out on the water with the Coast Guard late today.
With this temporary shipping channel now open, we're seeing one of the first ships to go through. Off in the distance here, a barge being pushed by a tugboat.
The operation in full swing 6 days after the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed when a container ship struck one of its pillars.
We know crews were out this weekend with cutting torches, slicing these pieces of metal. You're looking at now some of the first pieces that were cut, and they're waiting to be removed.
The new 11-foot deep temporary shipping lane expected to allow only vessels essential to salvage operations. More than 370 engineers, technicians, logistics experts, and others working around the clock. The plan, clear the bridge wreckage from the channel, stabilize the dolly, remove the bridge span from its bow, and eventually remove some cargo containers so the massive ship can be refloated and brought back to port. All of this expected to take weeks at least.
We're going to move as rapidly as possible, but we're going to continue to do it safely.
Every day the port remains closed could have a major impact on both the supply chain and the 8,000 jobs that directly depend on this busy waterway being open. 140,000 workers have some connection to this shipping hub.
It stung. Seeing it come down.
Chris Elliott is a longshoreman, the folks who handle all the products moving from ship to shore at the port. Since the bridge collapse, Chris has been in limbo.
The uncertainty has to be hard, though. Yeah, it is. It's every day you're thinking about the future and the uncertainty. You lose some sleep over it. Got bills to pay. Tonight, we're also learning the owner of the container ship petitioned the court to limit its liability for this accident. And President Biden plans to visit the wreckage on Friday. Lester?
All right, Aaron, thank you. In South Carolina, a new sentence for Alec Murdaugh today for federal financial crimes. Priya Schreeder joins us. Priya, this comes on top of multiple state sentences, including for the murder of his wife and son.
That's right, Lester. Today, Murdaugh was sentenced to 40 years in prison and $8 million in restitution for stealing millions from his family law firm's personal injury clients. This is in addition to the 2 life sentences without parole he's already serving for killing his wife and son and 27 years in state prison for similar financial crimes. Murdaugh appeared in court today in an orange jumpsuit and shackles and addressed the judge for 13 minutes. He said he's remorseful and embarrassed about what he did and that he thinks about his victims every day. 2 of his victims also appeared in court today and said that they forgive him. Lester?
Priya Schreeder, thank you. Tonight, a lawyer for NFL star Rashee Rice says he is cooperating with authorities as they investigate a 6-vehicle crash in Dallas that may have involved one of his cars. Priscilla Thompson now with late details.
For the first time since this terrifying crash, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice is responding amid reports that his car may have been involved. His attorney writing in a statement that Rice is cooperating fully with authorities and will take all necessary steps to address this situation responsibly, adding his thoughts are with everyone impacted. The response comes 48 hours after this 6-car crash, caused, police say, by this Lamborghini and Corvette speeding down the expressway.
The major accident on the freeway at 6700 block of North Central Expressway northbound.
Dramatic dashcam video shows the moment police say the drivers lost control, one car slamming into the center median as the other appears to spin out. Kayla Quinn says she and her 4-year-old son were headed home after a day at the zoo when they were among those hit. This could have ended way worse, she wrote on social media. Both cars hitting me, yet me and my baby walked out untouched. Police say all injuries were minor, and the occupants of the Lamborghini and the Corvette all ran from the scene. Moments after the crash, a bystander captured this video.
You guys all right? Yeah, that's it. Where you guys heading? You guys all right? Yeah. You guys just gonna leave it?
Tonight, the NFL not commenting, but the Chiefs president telling KCMO Talk Radio this.
We'll get to the bottom of it. We'll gather the facts, and then we'll react accordingly.
Dallas police are not saying if Rice was involved in the actual crash, and they're asking for the public's help in identifying the men in the video. Lester?
Priscilla Thompson, thank you. In the Middle East, Iran is claiming tonight that an Israeli airstrike in Syria killed some of its senior commanders at an Iranian diplomatic building in Damascus. Raf Sanchez has more.
Tonight, the fiery aftermath of what appears to be a targeted strike in Syria. Smoke and flames billowing from an Iranian diplomatic building in Damascus. Debris scattered on the streets. Iran says the blast killed 2 generals and 5 officers from its Revolutionary Guard, and it's blaming Israel and vowing revenge. Israel not commenting. Iran is a primary backer of both Hezbollah and Hamas, as fears grow of a widening conflict outside Gaza, where today Israel announced the end of what it called a 2-week counter-terror raid on Al-Shifa Hospital, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Israel says Hamas used the hospital as a base, and that Israeli commandos killed 200 militants and captured senior Hamas operatives. The U.S. saying Hamas is hiding among civilians.
Hamas should not be operating out of hospitals. But, as we've also said, we do not want firefights in the hospital.
The World Health Organization says at least 21 patients died during the Israeli siege, and Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry said they found bodies of civilians decomposing in the dirt. Among them, Dr. Ahmed Makadma, according to his family and Palestinian media. A dedicated surgeon, his colleague said he refused to leave his patients behind.
He opted to stay in northern Gaza, in Shifa al-Ahli, to look after his patients.
And Israel's military saying tonight an Iranian-made drone hit an Israeli naval base. There were no casualties, but Israel calling it a very serious incident. Lester?
Raf Sanchez, thank you. In 60 seconds, the $20 an hour pay hike for fast food workers in California. But what will the impact be on meal prices? Next. More than 500,000 fast food workers got a raise today to $20 an hour as a new law took effect in California. It's meant to offset the high cost of living, but it may also mean you'll pay more for your burger. Here's Liz Kreutz.
Something is better than nothing.
For 3 years, Anisha Williams has worked at Jack in the Box, struggling to make ends meet as a single mom in high-priced Los Angeles.
They need to know that their workers are struggling. Some workers are homeless.
That's why today marks a moment she's been waiting for. Anisha is among hundreds of thousands of fast food workers across California getting a raise.
We need this. We need this so bad.
After years of protests, restaurant chains with more than 60 locations nationwide must now pay their California employees at least $20 an hour. It's one of the highest minimum wages in the country, and the first time state lawmakers have mandated a minimum wage for just one industry. Supporters say it's time for the billion-dollar corporations to pay a living wage.
How's it going?
But many franchise owners, like Jessica Diambra, who runs 11 McDonald's around LA, say the law puts an unfair strain on their businesses already operating on slim margins.
Do you feel targeted that it's specifically for fast food?
Yes, and I think people just don't realize that. They see this big McDonald's brand and just think, oh, they've got all the money in the world, and it's just that's not at all how it is.
McDonald's, Chipotle, and Starbucks already saying they plan to raise prices to offset the rising labor costs. Pizza Hut preemptively laid off 1,200 delivery drivers like Michael Ojeda.
I was very frustrated. A lot of us got our jobs taken from us.
He was let go after 8 years.
What's the point of the raise if you don't have a job anymore?
Experts say the law may also lead to shorter hours and expedite the push to automation, replacing people with technology.
Economists often say there's no such thing as a free lunch. Does that apply here?
It really applies here. But we forget that somebody's paying for it somewhere.
But for Anisha, as the cost of living rises, she says a few extra dollars goes a long way.
I'm praying that this $20 will actually do something for me and my children.
Liz Kreutz, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Up next for us tonight, colleges' warnings over financial aid chaos. Could it impact thousands of students' ability to go to college in the fall? We're back now with our series, Kids Under Pressure. We first told you last month about glitches causing chaos in college financial aid approvals. Now universities are sounding the alarm that they can't process it all in time. Here's Stephanie Gosk.
Choosing a college is hard enough, but as the enrollment deadline draws near, some students still don't know if they will get the financial aid they need to pay for school. Frustrating Virginia high schooler Kate Tunstall.
How many schools accepted you?
5 or 6.
How many of them have told you whether or not they will offer financial aid?
None of them.
Issues with the federal government's new financial aid form, FAFSA, keep mounting.
Students who don't have offers, they likely will choose to not go to college in the fall, and that'll be a tragedy for them and a tragedy for the nation.
According to a recent survey of college officials, 67% don't think their school can process financial aid in the next few weeks.
Low-income students are already facing a number of challenges to get a higher education, and aren't they the ones who are hurt the most by this?
They are definitely the ones who are hurt most. The irony is that this was a system that was aimed at making it easier.
The new financial aid form mandated by Congress expanded eligibility and streamlined questions from 103 to about 20. But there was a late rollout and lots of glitches.
There's no question that the transition here has been rocky and it's been challenging, not just for us, but for students and for colleges.
Facing delays, dozens of colleges have pushed back the May 1st enrollment deadline. The DOE has also made multiple changes, including adding department employees to deal with the issues and loosening requirements for schools.
People are working 7 days a week here, long nights, to make sure that it's going to be possible for people to get their aid offers.
Meanwhile, the Tunstalls wait.
If we're unable to know if we can pay for the college, then it's a pretty big deal.
Like many students, what she doesn't want along with a college diploma is a mountain of debt. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
And next tonight, how playing video games as a kid propelled him right into the fast lane of NASCAR and his first big win. Sad news tonight about a World War II hero. Luke Hunter, the last living survivor from the USS Arizona, has died at the age of 102. The Arizona was bombed. It sank during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. More than 1,000 American sailors and Marines were on board and were killed. And finally, he went from playing video games to driving in NASCAR. And at the age of 21, he's just getting started. Sam Brock now with his story.
for fans of 21-year-old Raja Karuth.
There it is. Raja Karuth wins it at Las Vegas. First career win.
His accomplishment might seem to be flying in at breakneck speed. Are you telling me, because you're 21 now, right? Only 4 years ago was your first race?
Yeah, coming on 5, it'll be 5 in June. And so to be at this level, I feel pretty proud so far.
The number 71 truck for Spire Motorsports. Karuth just became the third black driver in NASCAR's history to win a National Series race after Wendell Scott and Bubba Wallace. Did you see that as part of your mission?
The passion was the main thing, and it still is, right? It's authentic to my background and who I am and my family. But at the same time, you know, I'm here to be a racer.
Video games as a kid. So you even have like tire pressure in there?
Oh yeah, you can see all the stuff.
And iSimulator machines as a teen. Serving as a springboard straight to NASCAR's Drive for Diversity program here in North Carolina, following in the footsteps of drivers like Wallace and Daniel Suarez.
Well, for me, it was literally the sole reason why I was able to make the jump from racing online to in real life.
And critical support coming from his family.
Just going through the cadence of any driver and any parent that wants to support a child doing something, but as far as it being very unique, I think that's a difference, right?
Do you think Raj's accomplishments are opening the door for other people to come on through?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now with a full garage.
I appreciate their work.
Karuth, an inspiration.
Last year was the dream, and now the dream is reality, so it's really cool.
And success story that's only beginning to rev up. Sam Brock, NBC News, Mooresville, North Carolina.
And that's Nightly News for this Monday. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air, a driver ramming into the FBI office in Atlanta. And severe storm sweeping east, tornado watches up right now, multiple states, and in the east, bracing for heavy rain and snow. First tonight, the images coming in, a driver crashing through the entrance gate of the FBI field office in Atlanta. The driver in custody at this hour, and what we know, Steve Osensami at the scene. Severe storms, tornado watches up as we come on tonight in several states from Texas north, then heavy rain and snow up and down the east coast. Washington, D.C. to New York City to Boston, and where there could be several inches of snow. Rob Marciano timing it out. Tonight, breaking news involving abortion rights of this country, soon front and center in the presidential election in Florida. The state's highest court there allowing Florida's 6-week abortion ban to now take effect. But tonight the court saying voters there will have the final say. So will abortion rights be on the ballot in Florida this November, and how could it affect the Biden-Trump rematch? Rachel Scott reporting. We're moving the bridge tonight, the first major step. You will see how crews are carving up that Baltimore bridge piece by piece, and what they have now done tonight to create a temporary channel. Tonight the search in Dallas for a Super Bowl star, Kansas City Chiefs player Rasheed Rice, reportedly wanted by police for questioning. Police say dash cam video appears to show his Corvette speeding with a Lamborghini, hitting several other vehicles. TMZ obtaining images appearing to show Rice and several others walking away from the scene. Overseas tonight, Israel now accused of launching a deadly strike on the Iranian consulate in Syria. Iran claiming 2 generals and multiple soldiers killed, saying they will respond. Tonight, Donald Trump's media company losing $2 billion in value after it was revealed how much the company lost last year, and the warning now about its future. Tonight, the urgent search for 2 missing mothers vanishing on the way to pick up one of the mother's children. Their car found on the side of the road. Tonight, the 35-year-old former NFL star found dead in his home in Florida, what we're now learning. Also tonight here, remembering a famous actress from Peyton Place to All My Children.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, it's great to be back with all of you at home. We do begin tonight with several breaking headlines. The storm's sweeping east, tornado watches up right now, heavy rain, several inches of snow in some places. But we start with the alarming scene in Atlanta today, a driver smashing into the gate at Atlanta's FBI field office. The incident, of course, raising alarm amid heightened vigilance for possible threats nationwide against the FBI and law enforcement. Authorities say the vehicle approached and refused to stop, security unleashing that physical barrier to block the vehicle. Agents and bomb technicians searching the vehicle, the driver arrested, taken to the hospital. ABC Steve Osensami leading us off tonight from the scene outside Atlanta.
The driver of this orange SUV is in a world of trouble tonight after trying to follow a vehicle into the gates of Atlanta's FBI main office north of the city. It was just after noon, and authorities say the driver with South Carolina plates would not stop, and security had to use a pop-up physical barrier to block the SUV, smashing the vehicle. Guards say the driver got out of the car and was quickly arrested without incident. He was transported to a hospital downtown.
Several of our special agents who were passing by apprehended him. This time we were looking at both state and federal charges.
Authorities at this point don't think that this was terrorism, but the investigation is early and they're still digging. The FBI has been particularly concerned about possible threats to the agency in the last few years.
So it sort of opens the door as to what is this really? Is this an attempt to harm the FBI or someone at the FBI? Is this a person who has mental health challenges, perhaps has substance abuse issues, got disoriented? We'll have to see how this sorts out.
They say that the agents, with their robot, who were seen here looking through the vehicle and a trunk that was inside the SUV, did so as a precaution and found no weapons and no explosives. They say no one was hurt.
Authorities here are confirming tonight that the arresting officer sent the driver to Grady Memorial Hospital downtown for, quote, an evaluation. David?
All of this amid heightened concern. Steve Osensami leading us off tonight. Steve, thank you. We turn out of that major spring storm on the move at this hour. Tornado watches up as we're on tonight across multiple states, and then the Northeast bracing for heavy rain and late season snow. Tonight, 40 million Americans on alert at this hour from Texas to West Virginia, the tornado threat, and then the heavy rain for the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, all starting tomorrow. Potentially several inches of snow further inland. Senior meteorologist Rob Marciano tracking it all for us right here with us on Monday night. Hey, Rob.
Hi, David. A dangerous 48 hours to come tonight. We already have those tornado watches that are posted and flood watches. Already baseball-sized hail tonight in Texas. And there you see the threat going to increase as the low-level jet strike in this system begins to intensify. Oklahoma City to Kansas City to St. Louis into central Illinois tonight. Then tomorrow, a northern jet dips down and amplifies everything. It's going to push the rain to the east. It's going to stretch out the severe weather to the south. And it's going to increase the tornado possibilities right over Ohio. Strong, long-track tornadoes possible. Then, on Wednesday, it all becomes a massive cold core system with more rain in the east and snow wrapping around through Chicago and into upstate New York and northern New England. Could see 1 to 2 feet of snow come Friday morning. But all eyes on the Midwest tonight. We're hoping for a safe 12 to 24 hours to come. David, tracking it right into the evening hours for us, Rob. Thank you. We are also following breaking news out of Florida involving abortion rights. That state's highest court in a major ruling late today, allowing Florida's new 6-week abortion ban to go into effect. It'll be one of the strictest abortion laws in the nation. But the court also signaling that voters will get the final say on this in November. They'll vote on this issue of abortion rights. At the same time, they're voting in the presidential election. So let's get right to Rachel Scott tonight. Rachel, Florida voters will decide on abortion rights there, and this, of course, could have implications in the presidential race.
It certainly could, David. And these were two separate decisions. The Florida State Supreme Court has now cleared the way for one of the strictest abortion bans in the country to go into effect, banning abortion at just 6 weeks into a woman's pregnancy. That is before most women even know that they are pregnant. And then in a separate decision, that same court allowing this issue to be put on the ballot in November, allowing voters to decide whether they want to protect access to abortion up until viability, which is considered to be around 24 weeks into a woman's pregnancy. Either way, this will have major political implications. We know that abortion rights has won in all 6 states where it has appeared on the ballot, and even including in conservative states like Kansas, Ohio, and Kentucky. And that raises real questions about whether Florida could now be in play for President Biden, David.
Both campaigns are looking at this tonight. Rachel Scott, Rachel, thank you. Tonight, meanwhile, Donald Trump's media company, which just went public last week, has now lost $2 billion in value. The stock price plunging after it was revealed how much the company lost last year. The stock down 21% in a single day today, and now the warning about its future. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight's stock in Donald Trump's media company tanking after Trump's social media platform Truth Social reported losing $58 million last year. The company was valued at nearly $10 billion after it went public last week as Trump supporters rushed to scoop up shares.
The stock has gone through the roof, and really this is, I think in the true sense, this is really it's a great sign of where the people in this country stand.
Trump's own majority stake then worth close to $6 billion.
Truth Social is doing very well. It's hot as a pistol and doing great.
But today, that rude awakening, the revelation of last year's losses sent the stock plunging more than 20% and the value of Trump's own stake losing more than $1 billion. And tonight there's a real question whether Truth Social can even survive, David. An auditor's quoted in a regulatory filing saying that $58 million net operating loss last year raises substantial doubt that Trump Media can be a viable company going forward. David?
Aaron Katursky reporting. Aaron, thank you. Next tonight to the surge in Dallas for a Super Bowl star, Kansas City Chiefs player Rasheed Rice, reportedly wanted by police for questioning after a chain reaction crash caught on police camera. A Corvette and Lamborghini speeding on a Dallas highway, the Lamborghini losing control, hitting several other vehicles, one with a mother and a 4-year-old inside. Sources say the Corvette was registered to Rice, the drivers and passengers in both vehicles, then leaving the scene. ABC's Maria Villarreal from Dallas tonight.
Tonight, dash camera video capturing this high-speed crash on a Dallas highway.
We have 2 subjects that fled from the scene.
Now, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rasheed Rice is being sought in connection with the accident, according to Dallas ABC station WFAA sources. The 23-year-old recently won the Super Bowl and was a second-round draft pick last year. 2 drivers, one in a Corvette and one in a Lamborghini, seen speeding, hitting the center median and losing control Saturday evening. A cascade of hits involving 6 vehicles, 4 people treated for minor injuries, including Kayla Quinn and her 4-year-old son.
The impact was pretty hard. I got hit on my driver's side. My son, he's very scared. He's shaking uncontrollably.
Authorities say the occupants of the Corvette and Lamborghini all ran from the scene without stopping to determine if anyone needed medical help. TMZ Sports sharing this photo as they walk down the busy highway shoulder. Sources telling ABC News the Corvette is registered under Rice's name and some of his NFL gear was allegedly found inside. According to Texas law, leaving the scene of an accident involving injury could be a crime.
They all walked off together, which means there was a relationship between the 2 cars. So that may also add to the element or seriousness of the charges.
David, late today, an attorney for Rasheed Rice actually said that he is working with local authorities to try and address the situation responsibly. And we also know that the Chiefs president commented on a local radio station saying they are gathering information and facts and they will respond accordingly. David?
All right, Maria, our thanks to you tonight. There was also an urgent search this evening for 2 mothers who are missing, one of them a pastor's wife. They vanished on the way to pick up one of the mother's children. The car they were in has been found in Oklahoma. Here's ABC's Victor Kendo.
Tonight, the urgent search along the Kansas-Oklahoma border for 2 missing mothers who vanished the day before Easter while driving to pick up children.
They're gone, and nobody knows where they exactly went.
39-year-old Jillian Kelly, the wife of a pastor at First Christian Church in Hugoton, Kansas, was traveling with 27-year-old Veronica Butler. According to Butler's church, the 2 women were on their way to get Butler's children for a birthday party, but they never made the pickup.
It appears that this was not a willing incident on their own to have taken off. It looks to be there's something more involved.
Butler's blue Kia found abandoned on the side of the road about 40 miles away in rural Texas County, Oklahoma.
There's every reason to believe that they could be in danger.
At an Easter service, prayers for their safe return.
We're going to wrap our arms around the Kelly family. We're going to love them. Lord, we lift up Jillian. We lift up Veronica. We pray for their safety.
The pastor at Butler's church describes the women more like acquaintances than friends. Tonight, their community will gather for a vigil. David?
Victor Kendo tonight. Victor, thank you. We turn now to Baltimore tonight, and the first major step as workers there try to carefully remove what's left of that massive bridge that came down. A 200-ton piece of that bridge has now been cut away and lifted off. And what they've now done tonight to try to open that waterway, Terry Moran is on the scene for us.
Tonight, perched on giant cranes above the collapsed bridge and using powerful thermal saws, demolition crews cut and removed the first major piece of debris, more than 200 tons, 440,000 pounds.
We're talking about something that is almost the size of the Statue of Liberty.
The crews must painstakingly clear the entire span of the destroyed Francis Scott Key Bridge, piece by piece. But officials are now saying that under those murky waters, divers can't see a foot in front of them. And with the chaotic wreckage, all that mangled, intertwined steel above and below the waterline, the site is a safety nightmare.
Every time someone goes in the water, they are taking a risk. Every time we move a piece of the structure, the situation could become even more dangerous. We have to move fast, but we cannot be careless.
And that's actually just a small step forward in this monumental operation. Another milestone, workers opened a temporary 11-foot deep shipping channel, clearing a path for emergency and some small commercial vessels to use the harbor again.
Officials here made clear today that work out there is going to be harder, more dangerous, and take longer than even they originally thought. Months, probably, before the Port of Baltimore is fully open, maybe longer. On Friday, President Biden comes here to see it for himself. David?
That is still an extraordinary scene right there behind you. Terry Moran still on the scene for us. Terry, thank you. Overseas tonight, the smoldering debris, with Iran now accusing Israel of launching a deadly strike on the Iranian consulate in Syria. Iran tonight claiming 2 generals and multiple soldiers have been killed and saying they will respond. Rick Clinton tonight from Israel.
Tonight, Iran claiming it was an Israeli airstrike that reduced its consulate building to rubble in Damascus, Syria, killing 2 top Iranian military commanders. Officials say at least 7 people died as emergency responders sifted through the twisted metal looking for survivors. The multi-story building next to the embassy left in smoking ruins, reportedly hit by 6 missiles from Israeli warplanes. Iran vowing to respond tonight as tensions with Israel escalate. This as Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu faces the largest protest since the start of the war. Passionate cries from the protesters calling for an election of Netanyahu to step down. The demonstrations at times tense, protesters clashing with officers. Some hostage families, like the grandson of Haim Perry, taking part to voice their frustration at Netanyahu. Do you think he will step down?
No, of course not. He's clutching the seat, his throne, and that's why we're fighting here, because he's not willing to go down.
Meanwhile, David, at least 4 people, including foreigners, were killed in a car explosion while delivering aid in northern Gaza. And we're also learning in talks between US and Israeli negotiators over a planned invasion of Rafah that Israel agreed to take civilian casualties into account. David?
Rick Clinton tracking it all from Jerusalem. Britt, thank you. Back in the U.S. tonight, convicted murderer Alec Murdaugh, already serving a life sentence for killing his wife and son, today sentenced to 40 years in prison for financial crimes, too. The once prominent attorney pleaded guilty to conspiracy, fraud, and money laundering, stealing millions from his clients, including a $4 million insurance payment meant for the family of his housekeeper who died in a fall at the Murdaugh home. The sentence guarantees he will spend life in prison, even if his murder conviction is overturned on appeal. Tonight, fast food workers in California have been given a pay raise, a new law raising the minimum wage from $16 to $20 an hour at fast food chains with at least 60 locations nationwide. But some small business owners are feeling the pressure to compete and could raise prices to pay those workers more, passing the cost on to consumers, according to economists. When we come back here on a busy Monday night this evening, the 35-year-old former NFL star found dead in his home, and what we have now learned tonight. And the tributes pouring in for a famous actress, from Peyton Place to All My Children, in a moment. Tonight, authorities are investigating the death of a 35-year-old former NFL star, Vontae Davis, in his home just outside Miami. Police say he suffered a medical emergency, possibly. They do not suspect foul play. He played 10 seasons, mostly with the Dolphins and Colts. He retired at halftime, you'll remember, while playing for the Bills. That was in 2018. When we come back here tonight, remembering a beloved actress. To the index, and actress Barbara Rush has died, best known for her roles in It Came from Outer Space, Peyton Place, All My Children. Her family says she died on Easter Sunday, one of her favorite holidays. Barbara Rush was 97. Powerball is now at $1 billion with a B. The drawings tonight, if you go for the cash option, by the way, $483 million. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Breaking news tonight, the major ruling in Florida on abortion rights. Florida Supreme Court saying the state's 6-week abortion ban can take effect in 30 days, but also ruling that voters should have the ultimate say by putting the abortion issue on the ballot in November. The growing national battle. Also tonight, the SUV ramming a security gate at the FBI.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, as Joe Biden continues to deteriorate, right before your eyes, one thing does remain constant. The president is, well, no other way to put it, he is a liar. He is not to be trusted ever. We will explain, and we have highlights of his most recent and, frankly, most egregious lies about the border, about his son. Now he's blaming the nationwide crime wave that he created, of course, on Donald Trump. Also tonight, we got Biden, Obama, Clinton fundraising. Where was Donald Trump? He was visiting the wake of the slain NYPD officer. We'll have reaction straight ahead. Also, Vivek Ramaswamy will join us with more on Joe's Transgender Day of Visibility proclamation, which he denies. No, we actually have a copy of it. Laura Trump will be here to respond to a nasty, vicious, vile attack from the DNC. And the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has a message for the president who just called him uninformed. We'll see who is uninformed. But first, let's turn our attention to what is perhaps Joe Biden's most blatant lie of all. Now, yesterday, when millions of Americans were celebrating Easter, which is the holiest holiday in all of Christianity, well, the White House, they were busy promoting another celebration. Frankly, one they kind of made up. On Easter Sunday, self-proclaimed devout Catholic, your president, Joe Biden, posted that message right there. Quote, today on Transgender Day of Visibility, I have a simple message to all trans Americans. I see you, and you are made in the image of God, and you are worthy of respect and of dignity. Now, the celebratory message followed an official Biden White House proclamation. Quote, I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., by the way, not the alias he used to use in emails, President of the United States of America, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2024 as Transgender Day of Visibility. At 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Easter now has been replaced, or at least at the very least is now forced to share a day with a new holiday that the administration clearly prefers, Transgender Day of Visibility on the holiest Christian holiday. Now, the Trump campaign called the move appalling, blasphemous. Other Americans, they were equally outraged. But when the president was harshly criticized for the move, well, he turned to his favorite tactic of all. He just flat out lied. When asked about his trans holiday proclamation, Biden told the press pool, quote, "I didn't do that." Maybe he just didn't remember. In reality, Biden did do that in writing and then reminded everyone with a celebratory post on X and other social media platforms like the one right there on your screen. Now, the White House did avoid any posting of anything that day in its Spanish language accounts in what appears to be, to some, a blatant attempt to hide the day from traditional Catholic Hispanic voters where he's bleeding a lot of support. Meanwhile, the famous White House Easter egg roll, that had to wait until today, the day after Easter. Needless to say, any display of Christianity was all but banned from the Biden White House. Even religious-themed painted eggs, they were strictly prohibited. You can't make this up. You really can't. This is simply hostility now towards religion. And during his Easter speech, Biden mentioned Jesus how many times? 0. However, a very confused-looking Joe did shuffle out onto the White House lawn for all the festivities, but for a president who famously goes to bed early and wakes up late, well, the early morning start time was quite difficult for Joe. Hunter, on the other hand, looked pretty wide awake. His father, the big guy, really could have borrowed some of that energy. Take a look. You decide.
Enjoy the day, and I'm coming down to do that Easter egg roll in just a minute. Thank you all so very, very much. Thanks, everybody. And by the way, say hello to oyster bunnies. Come on up, bunnies. Get up here so they can see you. Come on, get in there. Pretty big bunny, huh?
All right, the slurring, mumbling, bumbling confusion continued during a very friendly interview, with that hard-hitting weatherman, Al Roker, on his favorite network, NBC News, where only Democrats are allowed to appear. Take a look.
What is so special about this egg roll? Well, what's so special is just opening this is the people's house, and we expect over 40,000 people to be here. It's the largest ever, and we just like opening up the place and let people see this is their place. And it always makes me feel good to look out there and see average Americans just walking around looking at what's going on because they own it.
Now, that's the best Joe could do, despite 0 tough questions from the Democratic operatives on NBC. And, of course, the president isn't just a habitual liar. He is also utterly and completely incompetent. And as a result, Biden is losing support from both moderates and his radical pro-Hamas base. For example, by the way, the terrorist sympathizers, they were out in full force on Saturday. Take a look there on your screen. They're interrupting the evening Easter Mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City, ultimately even rushing the altar. Here's the worst part. Joe Biden is desperate for their vote. Right on cue, he is rolling out his secret weapon. Vice President Harris, who is now attempting to woo far-left voters with, calls for a ceasefire in Gaza and calls for elections to get rid of the prime minister and the promise of, legalizing weed and drugs and visiting abortion clinics. This White House has drifted far and away from even the days of Bill Clinton. Remember, he once said about abortion, it should be legal and rare. But if Kamala's campaign is anything like her time as border czar, I don't think Republicans have much to worry about. Now, another Biden strategy is name-calling. In an effort to beat Donald Trump, Biden is now trying to be more Trump-like. But his nicknames, they're pretty lame. He's not a pro at this. For example, so-called Broke Don made billions after Truth Social went public. Another desperate Biden strategy for November. They're bringing back Obamacare? Really? Where premiums have skyrocketed since Obamacare, the cost of health care, that's way up. Prescription drugs, they're more expensive. Taxes are even higher. And the promise, remember, you can keep your doctor, keep your plan, and the average family is going to save $2,500 a year. Well, that was a total lie. Millions of Americans lost their doctors, millions lost their plans, and on average, Americans are paying over 200% more, with almost half the country now having only one Obamacare exchange option. Obamacare was just an expansion of Medicaid, paid for by anyone that works for a living. Now, this all reeks of desperation. They're trying to shore up their base, and there are no accomplishments from Biden's presidency to tout. Of course not. Joe Biden has been a failure. Everybody knows it. And if you don't think this is a tipping point election, an inflection point for our country and for the world, in 217 days, you are dead wrong. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Breaking news tonight, the major ruling in Florida on abortion rights. Florida Supreme Court saying the state's 6-week abortion ban can take effect in 30 days, but also ruling that voters should have the ultimate say by putting the abortion issue on the ballot in November. The growing national battle. Also tonight, the SUV ramming a security gate at the FBI's Atlanta field office. The driver in custody. What we're learning. The spring storms and tornado threat across the country, and is April snow headed for New England? Al Roker is here. The significant progress in the race to reopen the port of Baltimore after that massive bridge collapse. The temporary fix to get ships in and out. The major escalation in the Middle East. Iran accusing Israel of striking its consulate in Syria and killing 2 top generals. Convicted double murderer Alec Murdaugh back in court, sentenced to 40 more years for stealing from his clients. Why some of his victims say they forgive him. The lawyer for NFL star Rashee Rice says he's cooperating with police after reports his car was involved in a major crash. Authorities asking for help IDing the man in this video. And he's young and driven, the gamer turned NASCAR star who just claimed his first major checkered flag.
This is NBC.
Thank you for watching and privilege of your time. This is Amir Shakil 5858. I am Amir Goodman. Have a good life.